it's Jen Suzuki, and I'm in the industry. I meet some of the greatest leaders out there, dealer execs, dealers, GMs, and I'm bringing them in the studio to talk to me about what's making their business pop, what's accelerating their growth. I'm sharing my own personal strategies for your sales teams, so I'm ready to get after it. Are you? Hey, listeners, welcome back. I've got Vicki Poponi. She is the VP Industry Advisor at Salesforce, and Salesforce is about to hit the scene in automotive in a big, big way. And I'm super pumped to hear a little bit more about what Salesforce is doing. And welcome, Vicki. Where are you located?
Hi, Jen. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me. I am in Southern California, in Los Angeles.
All
So
right.
it
Okay.
is nice and a little overcast, but still a lot warmer than a lot of the rest of the U.S.
Yes, well, I'm in Colorado. It's sunny. It's a little cold. We still have a little snow on the ground, but we actually have a Salesforce office I used to live next to when I was downtown Denver. And Denver has really evolved as they say it's the runoff of Silicon Valley. So it's a lot of tech here now, and I see Salesforce headquarters in many places throughout my travels. What's the Denver office all about?
I think it's just another office so that we can be closer to our customers. I have to admit, I
Okay.
have not been there. I am a remote worker, but I have been
Uh-huh.
to the San Francisco office, the New York Tower. I have been to the Tokyo Tower, in fact,
Get
but
out.
we've got, locations in the majority of the big cities.
Okay. Yes, I see them all the time. I always wonder, what's going on. Well, that's nice. So it's people may not know this, and I started reading about this some time back, and I heard that Salesforce was entering more of the customer relationship management software automotive side. What's going on?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's cute that you said that, not cute, but I mean, as you said that
You're
we're
like,
just
we've been around
entering.
for a while, Jen.
Yeah, no, totally. I want to say that. So, like, I came to Salesforce as the industry advisor 3 years ago after retiring as a C-suite executive at Honda. And
Okay.
honestly, Salesforce has been playing in the automotive space for 24 years, which is basically as long as they've been around, and really
Yeah.
started with the OEMs. So, we've got these
I,
long held relationships with every single OEM, particularly around
mhm.
started with the call centers. So, the motor side, and then also the captive finance organizations. And what's happening, and what I got lured to Salesforce for after retiring from Honda, they were like, hey, come on, we are going to build the next industry platform, right? The industry
Okay.
product for auto. So would you be willing to come and be the industry advisor? So let's see, it's 2024, 2022 in the fall at Dreamforce.
Okay.
Salesforce publicly announced Auto Cloud, that they're building Auto Cloud bespoke for the industry, because lots of organizations were using it in the auto industry, but you'd have to build your own data model, right? Salesforce didn't come with VINs, model years, trims, things like that. So they've been doing that.
Okay. Okay,
And
so what you're
now,
saying
I'm sorry,
is
go
that,
ahead.
oh, sorry. No, what you were saying is that Salesforce, yes, we know Salesforce has been around for a long time, but it's actually been being used other OEMs for some time now. And then for me to hear more recently, hey, they're getting into like the dealership world. That's really kind of new to the scene, right?
Yeah, totally. We're working with quite a
Okay.
few groups now. I think the
Okay.
first places where it started was with Marketing Cloud. And you talked about CRM, and Salesforce really does have some crappy names. I mean, it sounds terrible because if you say CRM, all of us in the industry, we think a really narrow focused about what that CRM is. But the thing about Salesforce, it's really a platform that started out as a CRM, or, for salespeople, but it has so
Okay.
much more stuff built into it, like service capabilities, field service. It's just huge. So it's really limiting when you say CRM. But in the
Oh,
dealership,
okay.
we've been around in the dealerships for a long time, particularly with Marketing Cloud, that it allows you to basically do custom journeys, automate things. It's pretty impressive. And we've now moved into also really trying to create CRMs specific for the dealership space. Because what's happening, and I think it's an exciting time in the industry, is all of us, the OEMs and the dealers, really recognize that we have to have better customer experiences. And all of
Yes.
us as consumers are like, hey, just like the likes of Amazon, Netflix, Macy's,
Hmm.
we as consumers want people to know us. And the industry's terrible in the piece where, the OEM has a lead and they hand it off to the poor dealer and the
That's
customer has to
right.
start over again. So this
Yes.
you have a vision about how can you really get a true like customer 360 or seamless
Hmm.
handoffs are really creating that opportunity now for the OEMs to work with the dealers to try to deliver that better experience.
Okay. And I love that you just schooled me on the CRM. And I like that because, I can envision when you said that there's more to this. And I actually never knew that Salesforce was a thing with a marketing cloud and it was in store. It hasn't crossed my, it's not really my wheelhouse marketing. So I'm not surprised, but it's interesting that, it's already been in operation in a capacity. And I hear what you're saying because this has been a major issue for some time where, because a lot of the stores, the dealerships get a lot of leads from the manufacturer.
Mhm.
And it's true, it gets choppy and things aren't seamless. And a lot of times there's delays in delivery, which impacts being able to get consumers, contacted quickly. And sometimes the consumer's thinking, why are these people taking so long? And
Right.
it's just part of technology that wasn't really integrated or seamless. And I see
Totally.
that that's one of the things you're trying to, you're correcting. I'm sure there's some other main challenges that dealerships are facing that's got Salesforce thinking, hmm,
Oh,
we can
absolutely.
do this. What are they?
Absolutely. I think one of the big things is, well, there's a couple things. First, I talk about is that, the challenge in the dealership is that every dealer is using on average, 20 different independent technologies. I like to use that analogy of
Yes,
like the crazy quilt, right? And the poor guys are trying to stitch it together and try to make it work
that's
seamlessly.
exactly right. Like
But each of
5,000
their
logins. Yeah.
Totally, and they've got, like, wheels on their chairs, and they probably, having more miles that would put them out of the warranty. So, the Salesforce right? So, the Salesforce platform does so many things that y there's a lot of pieces of that crazy quilt you could take off by just using the platform, right? So, that's one piece
Hmm.
that's already things are integrated. The platform already does that. The other thing that it does a great thing is creates a constant platform that the front of the store and the back of the store can use, right? Because there's a bunch of service capabilities on it that the dealership can use. You tie it to marketing cloud, that automation. So that's what's
Hmm.
happening. This platform that so many other industries have been using is now becoming available for dealers. And I just want to share one thing because I think that many people have no idea that they interact with Salesforce on a regular basis. So let me just give you a couple things. Is the
Okay.
Delta app. Everybody loves the Delta app, all built on Salesforce.
Hmm.
PayPal, if you use PayPal, all built on Salesforce. Big companies, IBM, Honeywell,
Mm.
they're all using that for their field service people. So it's Salesforce is almost everywhere. And I was shocked when I came to Salesforce is that they have the largest share of of customer CRM, whatever, in the
Uh-huh.
banking industry. They've got a 40% share
Banking.
of that technical. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So all the captives are using it. Anyway, so a lot of dealers are probably even touching Salesforce now, like with the portal windows that a lot of the OEMs, captive finance companies are doing. That's all built in
Mm.
Salesforce. Okay, I'm not
Mm.
sure I answered your question, but
No, but it puts it in perspective because as you're saying that, I'm starting to envision the benefits of that. Because, when you're integrated on their point of entry for a consumer experience with your business, it's also dumping into the place where we're going to contact them and stay
yeah,
connected with them. And it's not another system. And it's, you're not trying to double entry people or even
oh, totally.
input. Yeah,
Totally. And what I love about
which is a
Auto Cloud
time stealer.
oh, totally, totally. And what I love about Auto Cloud is that it has because the OEM is looking at people in general, right? They're not really dealing with individual customers typical, but the
Mhm,
dealers are. And so what I love
mhm,
on this platform, it has all in one place. You can look at the customer, you can look at the vehicle. We call it the vehicle 360. So you can look at the
mhm,
VIN, everything that's done on the VIN, everything that works on the VIN, accessories with the warranty pieces on that. And you can also
mhm,
see the customer. And the other thing that
mhm,
I really love that Salesforce pulled from the banking industry and brought into
mhm.
Auto Cloud is the idea of householding. So you know how like you don't know like, hey, Jen has this car and her husband might have a different name and he has a car, but you don't know that,
Mhm.
and you're like torturing the customer.
This is a
Now
major problem in service.
exactly.
Continue.
Exactly.
Yes.
So there's a
Mhm.
householding piece that, using Salesforce, you can just relate these customers together
Mhm.
against the VIN or whatever. But it's a huge piece because it was the same issue in the banking industry. So
Mhm.
it now has it. But there's so much stuff with it because of the automation that's coming in AI. Because the
Mhm.
reality is, we as an industry aren't going to be able to we're not going to be able to leverage AI as much as it's has the potential if we've got all these poorly stitched together systems where it's not sharing data, right? And so
Mhm.
I think that's a great thing about Salesforce too is some of the products, data cloud and everything is trying to make it easier for organizations to do that in addition to leveraging the platform capabilities.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's live. It's not a push
Yeah.
pull.
Yeah, and you and I were talking a little before this, right? About the differences that, for a Salesforce solution is it's live also. It's always
Yeah.
improving. We were used to like at Hunt, and I'm sure many places have a hard time about getting dollars to invest in technology. And you buy that technology and then it just rots on the shelf, it just ages because it's like standalone. And the nice thing about
Mm.
Salesforce is that platform, and it's this thing called a new word for me,
Uh-huh.
multi-tenant, which
Tell me
means
about that.
yeah, the multi-tenant, it's like the foundation that every single customer is using. So like Salesforce is multi-tenant, that means the platform
Mm.
is supporting the industry customers from banking or the industry customers from like Caterpillar, and everyone's
Mhm.
using the same platform. The analogy that I've heard, which I like, it's like you have an apartment building,
Mhm.
and that apartment building comes with HVAC, it comes with the piping, water piping, it comes with
Mhm.
electricity.
Electricity. Mhm.
Right. So all those foundational things are in that apartment. And then you, as a customer, get to customize your apartment with the walls or whatever, how you want to do. But that
Mhm.
foundation. So multi tenant
Mhm.
is like Salesforce, the platform is being really like that apartment building. And then every
Mhm.
customer can go in and, do what they want to do in it. But there's that foundation that they need.
Can let me ask
Sure.
you this. Okay, so one of the things, and I think this is what you're saying, and I just want to clarify. So one of the things that I like about Salesforce is I like the way that they were the platform that they're on because it's very modern in the sense that Salesforce has its own apps and
Yeah,
they have an open API. So a lot of companies are building features for Salesforce and they're in their apps, and I can
absolutely.
subscribe to that feature. So is what you're saying just this, that it is a I have the core foundation. I need to be able to dump my customer profile into the CRM. Everybody needs a customer profile, but maybe somebody doesn't want a certain feature to be turned on or wants it to do something else, but maybe Salesforce isn't offering all of these capabilities, but because now you're on Salesforce, you can go into their app store and you can find pieces to make your apartment more custom to your liking.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that piece that you said is that modern, right? So Salesforce was only been around for 24 years, right? So absolutely. And so the idea about Salesforce is like they give you 80% of what you need out of the box. And in these
Mhm.
industry specs, they're going to add a little bit more into that box. I like to think about it as
Mhm.
Legos, right? So they have
Mhm.
taken Legos and put them together for specific auto pieces that you can use. Or you
Got
don't
it.
need to, you can go find something else. But those common
Yeah.
things that everybody does, they have tools out of the box. But like you said, we have customers, partners, this ecosystem, like
Mhm.
let's see, who has something that have like I think it's Die Absolute have been making like a desking tool, right? That you can
Mhm.
put
Mhm.
that's out on an exchange and you can plug it in if you like it.
Mhm.
So all these different pieces are getting built together, or it also allows you to basically play with it yourself and decide how you want to manage it.
Well, at the same time, let me just be I want to ask you this is because one of the biggest challenges in the auto industry, and it happens with CRMs and it happens with DMS systems, is that they don't really play well with others. And it's like a whole thing to try and integrate products into them.
and some are friendly and some are not so friendly. But at the end of the day, the dealer wants what they want, and they should be able to get the things that they want, especially if they're accessible. But I think that when it comes to like what you guys are doing, it's for example, like you just said, like, hey, if I want a desking tool, or hey, if I wanted to send out this marketing campaign, I don't know, I wanted to send these text messages, even if
Right.
Salesforce doesn't offer that feature, it's easy for me to go get it if it's available through, through these partnerships
Yeah, absolutely.
that you're suggesting. Yeah. So basically a dealer could build their own system the way that they want it without this whole back and forth thing,
Oh,
amongst all these
totally.
companies. Yeah.
Totally. Absolutely. And
Which is huge.
yeah, it is huge. But you know what? It does create some challenge about having to change the way, you operate as a business
Mm.
leader at Honda. I was thrilled about Salesforce because you have business people that can become admins or whatever. So it's like it's like click and drag, so you can build your own things. It's not like you need an IT group, but you do need to have some people that are
Right.
interested in technology and get a
Hmm.
kick out of and enthusiastic about building on top of this platform, which is really
Hmm.
easy. Now, most dealerships don't have that, but that's something that a lot of young people are excited about. And there's a bunch
Mm.
of young people in that, honestly, like the
Of
Salesforce,
course.
a bit like what do you call it? A cult, right? Because they get excited about being able to build things. And there's so many,
Custom.
yeah, absolutely, on top of that platform.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, you can do any of those things. And what's happening with Salesforce is, you know, because they support all these different industries and they're multi-tenant, they're constantly getting the voice of the customer from all these other industries, and they're adding things to the platform to support that.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
they have 3 times a year, they have innovation that they add into the base products. And now with Auto Cloud, they're going to add 3 times a year specific things in innovations into the Auto Cloud area. But I mean,
Mm.
it's interesting that you could have one platform. And I guess for the bigger dealership groups or things that have much broader things in that platform, there's a CRM for, salespeople, there's service capabilities, call center capabilities, all those things
Mm.
around service appointments, automated follow-ups, journey building. And then there's also things for fleet management, all in the same platform, right? So there's so many
Mhm.
tools that you can use. It's the biggest challenge for any customer, I think, is understanding all the capability that's held into this giant platform, honestly.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times in the dealerships, it's salespeople. A lot of well, first let's back up. They buy tools and then nobody knows how to use them.
Yep.
And then if they don't know how to use them, they don't see the value or the benefit of it. And frankly, a lot of times customers their experiences are compromised because we're not using the systems. Like I'll give you a quick example. And then I got to ask you something about the
Sure.
service thing real quick because that's like such a big thing. I have a big gripe with service. I want to see if you solved it. Um, uh, 'cause- okay, so e- e- um, oh, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's all right. You can think
Let
about
me go back to the service thing because that was thing was just circling on my mind. So when I train service advisors, a lot of times they don't even understand. They don't know the CRM that the salespeople are using. But a lot of times, the experience started. That customer started in sales. They bought the
yes.
car. What's so shocking to me is that if 80% of the dealer's profits and that customer retention is gained in the service department, why the heck doesn't the service advisor use the CRM? So they have all these 5,000 other systems they have to use. But if the customer started in sales and it's one customer, a lot of different touch points, how come the service advisors are not able to access the record and see the notes and see that they just bought a new car and like see all of these things that would help make that customer experience so seamless? And a lot of times we have this back and forth between the two departments, but really, if we had a system that was more cohesive, it would actually unify them as the same team in the customer's eyes, because we'd be able to access more information that would help, our advisors greet customers in a more
Oh,
favorable and
totally.
personal way. Okay, tell me, did you guys
Totally.
solve this problem?
Well,
Are the
I
service
think so.
advisors to use Salesforce? Is that how it was built? Like for the intention of service advisors to use it?
Well, Salesforce is built all around giving whoever buys Salesforce or licenses the software, the whole goal around Salesforce is really to give you a 360-degree view of the customer, right?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
challenge in dealerships is there's different platforms, right? People are
Mm-hmm.
using different tools in different places. But
Mm.
if you use something like a Salesforce platform, right, that's a single piece, then everyone would have the same information about that customer, right? So Jen Suzuki,
Yes.
you just bought a new car, it's in there. And then when the service guy opens up and he sees you, he'll see what car you bought. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
the holy grail, right? So that the service customer can say is, well, Jen, you've been here. This is your 10th vehicle that you bought with us, right?
Exactly.
And you can't
Yes.
pull those things about loyalty or the value of a customer's long-term relationship when you have
Mm-hmm.
all this patchwork of stuff. So for me, even at
Exactly.
Honda, that was the grail. It's like, let's get one platform that we can see that. Because think
Mm-hmm.
about this. There's so much cost in the dealership that can be taken out by reducing the number of technologies they use, right? Solutions,
Yes.
replatforming them. So not only do they
Mm-hmm.
get the cost reduction from a monthly thing, even if Salesforce might be more expensive, they're going to eliminate things. That's one
Mm-hmm.
piece. The other thing is the cost of complexity. That's not a line item on a P&L, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
just to think about the time of people eating up, like dealing with all these things, going back and forth on
Yeah.
wheels, 5,000 double entries, right? That's an issue. But the
Mm-hmm.
other thing that's missing, I think, is if you have a platform, and this is my holy grail, this is what I would love to see,
Let's
is
hear
I
it.
hate that the dealers have to pay all this money to these equity mining companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that they don't even think about it. They do that separately. But what a great thing if you had a single platform that's flagged, like, hey, this customer is now in equity yourself, that
Mm-hmm.
you as a customer, and you can do this on the platform, send out an automated thing is like, hey, Jen, you might not know, but your car's in equity. We see that you're scheduled coming in. Would you like
Mm-hmm.
to talk about, the new vehicles that you can get in for the same price, right? They
Mm-hmm.
are
Mm-hmm.
outsourcing that to other folks. But wouldn't it be better if it was internal, and you could see that? I mean, I don't know. There's a lots of things you could do.
Oh, well, I find it very intriguing to hear why you guys entered this space. And, I think you mentioned, I asked earlier before we started recording, are you going to be at NADA this year? But she said next year. So you can see the momentum building. And as you mentioned, you've already been in other dealerships. And I can tell you've already started to see some of the biggest challenges that we've been facing. In a lot of cases, in some of the CRM platforms, they just haven't. I mean, we don't even have calendar invites, which blows my
Right,
mind. We've been
right.
doing calendar invites in our professional, level for ages. How can this? We are trying to set appointments. How can we not do a cal invite?
Right. And that's like that kind of stuff is all built into Salesforce, and it's
Yeah.
like, what is that expression? We eat our own dog food, right?
Hmm?
So Salesforce uses Salesforce, right? For
Okay.
all their
Okay.
customers. Totally, right? We use the same
Yeah.
platform.
Of
And so
course.
even our own
Makes sense.
internal people are, poking things and the same stuff. There are calendar invites right in the activity. It tracks all the activity automated. It even does things too, like scoring the leads based on your own
Uh huh.
information.
Uh huh.
There's so much stuff
Mm-hmm.
in it. I mean, but the challenge though, then, Jen, is getting people to use it. And I think
I
that's
was
what you
going to
were
go
talking
back to
about
that
earlier
because
about.
that's what I was going to say. It's like, yeah, we buy all these tools, nobody uses them, and it compromises the customer experience because if you don't put the notes from your conversation in the
Right.
system, then how are you going to remember them when they come to service? How can service remember it?
Exactly.
How will they know? Or the customer has somebody else in their household that's interested in a car, and now they're a separate file, and we
Totally.
didn't pick up on the fact that
Totally.
spouse had already bought a car from us before they got
Right.
married,
Right.
in a
Well,
different
this
name.
is
I mean,
a modern thing. Right. And the
yeah.
other thing too is a lot of times salespeople, right? Their contacts are their own personal things. They don't realize that it's, that's my customer, not even the dealership's customer. So
Mm,
driving to get that in. But that's like a change management behavior, right? It's like if you're going to
yes.
take on like a changing the CRM or changing your systems, you really have to think about, okay, what am I trying to do? And then it's a change management. Honestly, the technology is probably the easiest piece. It's the people and the operating
Mm.
processes you have in place that's more of a challenge. I
So
can tell
I'm
you,
guessing. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to tell you, there's a group, and we've got dealerships all over the world that are using Salesforce. But there's my favorite
Mm.
group is a Grupo Kleber, which is a Mexican group. They've got 68 rooftops, you name it, every
Wow.
brand. and they are full in. They moved all their stores onto Salesforce, right, as a CRM and a platform. And I think it was
Okay.
such an interesting thing. They had the challenge of getting people to use it because people were going around and getting the DMS and all this kind of stuff. So basically, to force people to make sure they had all that data into the platform, they basically cut off any access directly to any other kind of like technology and the interfaces they built just through Salesforce, so they could capture everything that was
Wow.
really going on. Anyway, it's just an interesting piece.
Huh. Well, it's nice to know that people can play nicely with
Yeah,
Salesforce because that's ultimately, I think, what you're saying is that they cut everything off and said, "Hey, if we either those companies have to build it to integrate, right, and to be maybe
right.
an optional feature, or, um, or
That's right.
I don't
And the
know,
reality is,
yeah,
like,
it's not going to work."
right. And the reality is, Salesforce isn't going to offer every piece of solution that a dealer is going to need, right? But that viewpoint
No.
about open APIs, right? We'll
Hmm.
integrate with everybody. There's no problem
Hmm.
about that. That's beneficial. It's very different than, like, the historical way that we've grown up. And the
It's very old
reality,
school.
Jen, is, yeah, and the reality is 20 years ago, the auto industry was really the leaders, right? And innovators in
Uh-huh.
technology and all this kind of stuff because it's such a complex, business, and we were leaders. And today I think we're laggards. So in some places, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, everything evolves and I don't think it's always easy to stay on top of change, and it's not always easy to evolve, especially even with technology, because things do evolve and move so fast
Right.
and everybody wants something different and you're trying to, please everybody. But in this case, you don't have to. You have the
Right.
core
Right.
fundamentals and, we could build onto it.
Absolutely. And I think that's going to be the piece. I think the interesting piece sometimes that
Mhm.
customers are a little nervous about, they're like, hey, I need to be more competitive against, my same branded store 12 miles away. Right.
Mhm.
And the thing is, like, how can I be competitive if I'm using the same tool? But the reality is 80% of every business is the same, regardless, right? There's certain process, that you use. The secret
Yeah.
sauce is in the 20%, right? And so with
Uh-huh.
using a platform that has a lot of capabilities, you can
Mhm.
really put your effort on the customer experience. What are you doing that? The top things that make you differentiated, versus just trying to get, the blocking and tackling that doesn't differentiate you.
Mhm. Well, I will say this is very intriguing for me. We will have to circle back in
I love that.
2.0. Tell me anything else that you think we should know as we start to think about options.
Yeah, and I think the piece is right now, like, Salesforce is making a commitment to, the dealer space. We are talking to many dealers. We've got actually some of the largest public dealership groups are already customers of Salesforce, and we're helping them deliver things. Some that I can talk about is like CarMax is huge. Everything's built
Okay.
on top of Salesforce. There's a couple more that we can talk about in Europe here and there, and we've got some folks here in the U.S. So you'll hear more about that and recognizing
Mm-hmm.
the need to integrate with DMSs. We're talking to those players, and we've got some announcements that will be coming out with those, but we're moving forward with that. So I think you'll hear more and more as
Great.
the year goes on.
Yes. Well, I'm super excited. You gave us a good taste. And Vicki, congratulations on joining Salesforce. I think it's so exciting to leave a manufacturer using Salesforce, in your day to day, and now seeing it from a different perspective. And anyways, I love the change of
Thank
pace,
you.
and
And I
it's
love
definitely
it.
well needed.
Thank you. Hey, Jen, and one shout out to the
Yeah,
dealers. I wish the
let's hear
dealers
it.
would do this, right? Because they let
Okay,
the
yeah.
OEMs, as being a former OEM, leader, right? I wish the dealers, right? This thing about the customer experience. I wish the
Hmm.
dealers in a brand would push back to their OEMs and saying, "Hey, we have this joint responsibility to take care of this customer. And you, Mr. OEM, have a ton of more information than I do as an individual, dealership.
Hmm.
So I think
Hmm.
the dealer should be pushing back, saying, you need to help us and give us more data too." So anyway, that's
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
one vote to bring the organization and the industry value chain together better for on behalf of the customer.
Understood. Well, thank you so much. Thanks, Vicki.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
If you like these episodes and my sales game techniques, you should snatch up our latest dealer education program I'm hosting. It's called Jen's Remote Classes, and it's a 1-hour, once-a-week class with me alongside other dealerships all pursuing the same end game to achieve top 10% status in your dealership. For more info, hit me up. All my contact info's in the show notes. I want to hear from you. And follow Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki right now to get notified when episodes like this one drop. This is Jen on the podcast Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki. See ya!